This was submitted by Pete Bowler of Queen Street in Knutsford. It is clear that the British public expects a high moral standard from their politicians. Please tell us the basis for your own moral compass, how it affects everyday life, and how good are you at conforming to it?
I'm a poetician and not a politician. So I'm not going to answer that question directly. I have a number of personal flaws which are known to those who know me, and that's a matter between me and them. As far as the poetry is concerned, I think that if you were to question me on it, you might find that I'm behaving in a fairly straightforward and honest way in these matters.
Well, I was interested in your first comments, Michael, when you said you were a poetician, not a politician. I'm not going to answer this question directly. Sounded more like a politician to me. I looked at this question and thought, well, you know, how do I go about answering? I mean, I try to be moral in the way I behave. Certainly, if I was elected to Parliament, I would want open access to your money, which is my salary, and how it's being spent. And then I thought, well, what about the other aspects of moral living? I mean, would I think it's morally right to be driving around as I come into Knutsford and look at the cars in the garage, the Bentley, the white convertible? Would I think it's morally right to pay £100,000 to buy a car? The answer is simply, no, I wouldn't say that morally I would think that that was a good use of my money, given that there are so many people in this country who, for £100,000, that would be many, many years' salary. So I think there are totally different ways of looking at this question, but certainly from a politician's point of view, I would try to do the best, honest way of dealing with the situations that I deal with in Parliament if I'm elected, and letting you know exactly where your money is going and what your money is being spent on from my point of view, very open on all those accounts.
The best guide I've ever had is a sort of quite straightforward one, which is do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And to me, that's the sort of best approach to things. Of course, no one, or certainly not myself, always sticks to that code, and sometimes, you know, you get angry at people when you shouldn't, and you lose your temper with people when you shouldn't, and you know, we're all humans like that. But I think you know, whoever is the Member of Parliament after this election will find that in politics you get all sorts of things thrown at you, all sorts of decisions, things you couldn't possibly have planned, things that would never ever come up in an election because no one had anticipated them. And so therefore the question is, you know, what is your general approach? And the general approach, I think, is that how would you like this done to yourself? And that's the guide that I use. As I say, people, obviously, having been the MP, people can judge me by the decisions I've taken and the votes I've taken part in and so on. And they'll make their own conclusions about that. But that is the approach that I take to decisions.
It's quite difficult to describe a moral compass. I suppose my aim always in everything I do, you know, I try and make a positive contribution to the world. And I thought I'd just mention a couple of things. You know, I've been at work today. I work as a vet. So a profession that can have a real profound effect on living beings. That's animals, obviously, but actually their owners as well. And I really enjoy the responsibility of that, and you know, I get a deep satisfaction from what I do. The second thing, I'm actually going to mention something really personal. I've mentioned before, I'm a trustee of Mind. Over 10 years ago, I had a breakdown. I fully recovered from it, but it had a real profound, deep effect on me. I saw the way mental illness affects people, affects families. And, you know, let's face facts, mental health isn't a trendy or fashionable cause. So I vowed to make a difference. I started volunteering for Mind. I worked really hard, and over time have moved up and up in that organisation. And for the last 4 years, I've been a trustee. So I'm a trustee of a charity with a turnover of £25 million. And for someone my age, you know, that's pretty rare. You know, we have 200 local mind associations around the country, we have helplines, we have legal advice, and we help hundreds of thousands of people a year. So, you know, that's what makes me phenomenally proud. And I suppose it's, you know, talking about a moral compass, it's sort of doing it rather than talking about it, and I hope I've shown that.
Well, it is a good question to ask, and it is a difficult question to answer. We do and we should expect our MPs to set a high standard, and I think we've been rocked by the expenser scandal and listening to people describing themselves as cabs for hire. That said, when you come to examine your own philosophy, it's always more challenging. I think the basis of my moral compass is probably my upbringing and relatives. One of my forebears was George Tierney, and his nickname was the Citizens MP, and I've always thought that was a great term for an MP. And my grandfather actually turned down a knighthood after the Second World War because he said he'd been given out too many posthumous medals for him to feel that he deserved any special treatment. And maybe that's a sort of sense that is quite unusual to find today. So I suppose if I had to sum it up, I'd say that I think that justice, a sense of justice, honesty, and integrity, and the importance of being a citizen in the widest sense of the word, those are the things, the values that are important to me. And like Pascal's theory of faith, the more you practice it, the better you become. Or that's the theory.